This interview is for information only and should not be considered as investment advice or a recommendation to buy shares in the company featured. Welcome to this Stock Box interview.
Joining us today is Rolf Gerritsen and Chris Chadwick, Executive Directors of MetalNRG, following a company update RNS with the aim to capitalise on the company's anticipation of a potential bull market cycle in the metals and mining sector. Well, welcome to you both. Rolf, it's been a little while since we've spoken. How are you doing?
Well, Mark, how are you?
Very good, thank you. And Chris, it's the first time we're speaking. Welcome on to Stockbox. How are you?
No, thank you. All good. Thank you, Mark. Good to meet you.
Good. Well, the first thing I'd like to put to you, really, I guess, Rolf, is I've read the RNS and it talks. It seems to talk about a shift change with lots of information on the sort of board appointments, but it lacks, in my opinion, detail on current assets, and it talks very high level about future plans. I understand it is a planning RNS and more news will come out, but I think it might disappoint in terms of the detail here. So can I ask, what is really happening? Is this a shift change within MetalNRG, and why are you doing this now, and when can the market see some more tangible details?
That's a number of questions put together, Mark. I'll start off by why are you doing this now? We believe, and Chris, I talk for Chris as well, because we both believe that we're going to see a major shift in natural resources. We believe that if you look at gold, the price at the moment is high. I think you only need about a 9% increase in gold price to hit an all-time high. But if you look at the companies and the share prices of gold companies, you need 193% increase in share price on average to hit the all-time high for these gold companies. So there's a misalignment there that we believe is going to be addressed over the next few years. And there's an opportunity for the share price of gold companies to accelerate, in our opinion. You look at copper and you look at the announcement the LME made the other day saying that they're at their lowest stock levels ever. And again, copper in terms of transition metal is going to offer a huge increase in usage, because just on the demand side, due to the electric transition, it's going to be massive. So we believe there's an overall transition that's going to occur, or a revamp of the natural resources market. We believe very much in gold, we believe in precious metal, and we believe in, call it, transition economy metals such as copper, lithium, nickel. So there's a fundamental opportunity, in our opinion, that we want to take advantage of. Then the question becomes, how do you best do that? And this is where we've been in a conversation with Chris and his team to start looking at accelerating the entry into the focus on natural resources. And Chris and his team, and he'll explain more about that, offer that opportunity because they've been doing this for a while and they've got quite a substantial pipeline of projects that we're looking at integrating into MetalNRG. So is this a fundamental shift? It's a fundamental shift because we're going to focus on natural resources. We're going to focus on gold, precious metal, transition metals. And we're looking at projects that will allow us to accelerate the value creation. And that's really where this is, where we are. We are not giving detailed targets yet, because we're still in a process of reviewing various projects and seeking out the best ones to bring into the fold. And that will take a little bit longer, and we anticipate a further announcement towards the end of September that will outline in greater detail what the plans are, and more importantly, the value that current shareholders will be getting for that.
Okay, so is this RNS more a heads up that we're doing something here? We are going through a turning over a leaf phase. Stand by for more information.
My view, Mark, is that it's a lot more than that, because we're bringing in a valuable, experienced team And it's not only Chris that's coming in as executive director and main board member, but there are a number of other people joining that bring real good expertise. Andrew Sakanda and Scott Gilbert are joining, and Damien Chadwick as well. So we're actually putting resource to this. We're putting our money where our mouth is, in that the directors are supporting the transition, and more importantly, are putting money into the company that allows us to further progress some of these targets that we're in conversations with. So I think it's a lot more than here's a plan. It's here's a plan, here's the resources, and the directors are backing it financially.
Okay. Well, Chris, if I can bring you in here, I know it said in the RNS that you are assisting in the completion of this business review. Can you shed any more details? Or maybe, first of all, give us a bit of an introduction to yourself, just a minute or so, and then what your role is going to be in this review, this business review.
Yeah, perfect. So just by way of background, been in the mining space since 2006. At that point in time, grew up in South Africa. 2006, joined Neil Frohnman, and Neil had built up a uranium company, Uranium One, to be the largest uranium company in the world at that point in time, and was looking to leave there to do something similar in the precious metal space. So I joined Neil as his CFO. We listed the company in Australia as well as Johannesburg, raised the capital that we needed to complete the building of our first mine in South Africa, in Johannesburg. And then over the space of 10 or 11 years, through various mergers and acquisitions and corporate activity, built what is today the largest platinum and palladium company in the world, which is Sibanye-Stillwater. So I sat on the board of Sibanye for around about 5 years or so as a representative of its major shareholder. But just realized there was a huge opportunity to consolidate further in the sort of Southern African gold and precious metal space. And put together various structures, got a lot of support from local South African stakeholders. The thing we were missing, Mark, was international financing. And as we all know, South Africa was going through challenges, in fact, still is at this point in time. So we created two vehicles. One was a royalty company in Abu Dhabi, where we raised some funding in that vehicle. And secondly, we raised a SPAC in New York at the peak of the SPAC market, where we raised $414 million. But interestingly, after 3 days of roadshow, we closed a book on $2.6 billion worth of interest. So hugely successful. But there was a lot of deal flow which was coming across my desk and my team's desk, which wasn't suitable for New York and didn't quite fit into the royalty scenario. So we were looking for a vehicle to capture these opportunities. I recently moved the family back to the UK again, and was fortunate to meet up with Rolf and the team. And together we just thought this was a perfect fit. With MetalNRG, we've got an ideal structure in terms of launching a consolidation play. And myself and the team come with with networks as well as a substantial pipeline, both in precious metals as well as strategic metals. So an ideal fit really. And like Rolf said, I think the timing is perfect as well, Mark.
Okay, so what I'm getting is you both feel that the timing is very good for the mining and metals space, particularly with relation to gold and precious metals and the transition metals used for, of course, the green transition. And with your experience there, you've seen a lot of opportunities come across your desk, and you're really looking for a way to get them on market, I suppose. Is it fair to say you're potentially looking at projects in Southern Africa?
No, we're looking at projects internationally, Mark.
Okay.
So not limited to Southern Africa. We've got a wide portfolio of assets internationally. So we're looking at all jurisdictions.
Okay. Well, I noticed from the RNS that it's going to probably be a reverse takeover target, and you've identified a number of RTO targets. And for people who don't know, this is where a company not on the exchange effectively reverses into a listed entity, in this case MetalNRG, in order to get access to the capital market. So this can, of course, bring a new lease of life, as we've sort of talked about, into a company. But it also, I think, comes occasionally or quite often with trade-offs, such as dilution to existing shareholders. Could you perhaps explain the RTO model, either Rolf or Chris, and what might happen, both the good and the bad things that are relating to an RTO?
Okay, and I'll kick off, and then Chris, you can add. But first of all, we have a belief that the current assets owned by MetalNRG are not uh, reflected in its current share price, and that's probably due to the legal issues that we've had, which we're seeing an end to, and are being resolved. So we believe there's a misalignment there, and during the business review process, we'll be looking at how we can address that to protect existing shareholders. The intention is not to just dilute them, it is actually to give some additional value where possible. So we have to do that within the guidelines. That's the first thing. And then what we're doing is we're looking at various targets, and we're looking at the best kind of transaction that can be put together with or bearing in mind dilution, bearing in mind capital requirements, and all of the various facets. And that's part of the business process that we're going through. And again, as I said, we'll probably have more detail on that towards the end of September. But Chris, please go ahead and add to that.
Yeah, I think what Metals NRG provides us as well is that, obviously the main board listing is a very valuable sort of structure. And in terms of the RTO process, it is a relatively quick and relatively inexpensive way to bring good projects to market, Mark, as opposed to, just a front door IPO.
Okay. And I noticed from the RNS that you these potential takeover targets would be most suitable for the acceleration and for the benefit of shareholders. You've mentioned about lots of opportunities. Are you able to share any more details at this point about what you're looking at, or if you can share anything in terms of the commodities, the sectors of the jurisdictions, anything you can share at this point?
Maybe I should start with that, Mark. Not to this point. The reason why is we're going through a rigorous process at the moment in terms of reviewing the projects that we've got available, and really just again with our advisors, just looking at which of those projects are best suited to take to market in the first phase of growth. This certainly won't be the end of our mergers and acquisitions. This will just be sort of step one in a long process. But it's a case of identifying which are the best assets to bring to market up front.
Okay, so we'll have to wait to see more details on that. I mean, for existing shareholders, for new shareholders, this could be quite exciting. New projects coming to market. For existing shareholders, perhaps disappointment in the past performance of MetalNRG. But is it possible for existing shareholders to get excited, do you think, about a new project reversing in that has a lot of potential?
Well, I'm a shareholder, and I'm very excited about the current opportunities that we're working on. So the board, both other board directors, so Christian and Christopher, are both shareholders, and they are also extremely excited. So, I think there's for existing shareholders very good reasons to be extremely optimistic about MetalNRG's future.
Okay. If I can just finish off, Rolf, just thinking about, I don't know if you want to call them legacy assets in MetalNRG, but of course there's Brit Energy, Goldridge, EQ Tech. What's the deal with these assets? Are you continuing to keep hold of them?
Well, Goldridge we own 100% of, and we're very focused on it. It's part of it's gold, so it's core. And the other assets we're looking at carefully with Chris, and see what is actually valuable to existing shareholders. What do we keep, and what do we look at other solutions for?
Okay.
But Goldridge is very much part of the core. It's gold, and we'll be driving that forward.
I remember that EQ Tech was always one that was quite a promising looking asset in MetalNRG, with the potential for some cash flow there, but it potentially doesn't fit the new model of MetalNRG going forward. Is that what you're saying?
I think EQ Tech and the project in Italy is still a very strong operational project, and will be performing extremely well. And with Chris, we need to sit down and review that in detail and decide what's the best solution for it.
Okay.
So again, no conclusion on either way of going with EQ Tech at this stage, Mark.
Okay. Well, thank you very much for your time. I look forward to seeing some more details, you said, towards the end of September. So hopefully we can catch up then and get into some more meat on the bone, so to speak. But for now, thank you very much for your time, Rolf Gerritsen and Chris Chadwick, Executive Directors of MetalNRG.
Thank you, Mark.
If you enjoyed this interview, then give us a thumbs up, a like or a retweet. Subscribe to us on YouTube or follow us on Twitter and hit that notification bell to be the first to know when we release new content. There's loads of great content on our website too, across all our programs at stockboxmedia.com. Thank you for watching.